Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Financially Forever After, a love and money podcast. We are your hosts, Lindsey, the love guru.
Oh, here you go. Here we go. We got your new little tagline.
No, it's not. I can't use that because I'm clueless. The love clueless guru. The love sage.
I think you need to work on that.
Okay.
Work on that.
I'll work on a new title.
You should have a list, and then next time.
The love fairy? That sounds gross.
No, let's not do that.
What is your title?
So
who are you?
Your job between now and next time is we need a list of 5 options. Okay. But I'm Brett the Money Maker all day.
Usually, I think that one's used already too, by the way.
I like your green. We're like the money family here. We got green and...
Green for money.
Yeah,
actually, it comes into play with my topic today as well. So we're going to touch on that. Green.
Let's make some money. Let's
green
roll.
Green is a sign. So yeah, what's going on in the world? We got kids in full swing and activity. Spring is finally around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Got spring sports coming up. Golf.
So yeah, we're here in Nebraska, and we love how like 1 week it's snow day, and then a week later
it was like a blizzard.
75 degrees out, like 100-degree differential.
I like to joke Nebraska is a hormonal woman going through menopause. I can relate. I mean, I'm not there yet, but I can relate the hormone stuff. So yeah. One day you'll be in t-shirts and shorts and you're grilling on your backyard, and the next you are not leaving your house because you're snowed in.
And yeah, very
gotta love
coat.
the Midwest.
Yes.
So we are going to talk today, relationship wise. We talked about green, red flags, and green flags.
Oh, say like
in a relationship. Okay. I want to ask you, Brett, what do you think that pertains to, a red flag in a relationship versus a green flag in a relationship?
Level 5 clinger? It's like what? Or level 6 clinger, like Wedding Crashers? I think that's what
level 6? I think level 5 is the highest, isn't it?
I don't know.
Level
I don't
10.
Remember.
Yeah.
I do like that movie, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But I don't know. I don't know. There'd be some things that you're just like, nope, I ain't doing that. Don't want. Then it might be like religion. You might be like, okay, well, I can't get on board with their religion. They're not going to get on with mine if that's super important to you. Some people, it's not important to.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's various. I mean, some can be bad with money. Some can be good with money. Money is a big cause of a lot of people.
Money is a huge part of divorce.
Yeah.
So yeah, that could be a red flag if they're a spender and they just take they don't take any feedback or advice when it comes to spending money or, the importance of budgeting. That could be a red flag. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if you get appropriate financial advisor, hopefully they can get them
past
that.
Yeah.
It's going to say, all right, well, we're going to spend money. We're just like you spend money.
Yeah.
But we're just going to spend it over here. And we're going to save it in some type of tax-free investment vehicle or something of that nature.
That's a great idea, babe.
Yeah.
I like that. So let's talk about red flags. Well, it's the definition just in general. And they're just warning signs or behaviors in a relationship that signal potential problems. So it's either going on now or something down the road. Like you had mentioned, if they're a spender and it could be future problems that you can run into if this behavior doesn't change. These issues often point to deeper, more serious concerns that if ignored could lead to unhealthy dynamics, emotional distress, or even abuse. So common red flags to watch out for. Give me an idea of what you think some common red flags would be.
I already said level 5 or 6 clinger. Maybe if they're
actually not on there. Well,
maybe if they're going out, going out late at night or going out without you, or don't give some type of reason, or maybe you smell alcohol on their shirt or smoke or something of that nature, if they had been an addict or something like that in the past. Maybe they won't show you what's on their phone or text message or call, and it's like, oh, who's that from, or they have to answer it and go in the other room. That could potentially be a red flag. I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're not far off. So lack of respect. So it goes into a lot of that. Constantly belittling, ignoring, or dismissing your opinions or your boundaries. Those are things that are important in a relationship. So if they're constantly just not taking you into account at any regards, that could be a red flag. Controlling behavior. So we talked about jealousy. A lot of times that's romanticized. Oh, well, they're jealous, they're protective. That can also be a bad thing. That controlling behavior, especially if it's overly so, that could be bad. Excessive jealousy, if they're constantly jealous or possessive or try to keep you away from your family and friends, that could be a problem. Those are red flags. Gaslighting. I know you know this.
Oh,
you don't know
gosh.
this term, actually.
I've heard of it.
Have
We
you
might
heard of
even
it?
have talked about it, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I
I
feel-
remember it about as well as you remember what the S&P 500
I like
is.
this because, I mean, you can kind of gaslight yourself at times, but a form of manipulation where someone makes you doubt your reality or perception, often making you feel confused or crazy. I feel like sometimes the government gaslights us in many ways.
Oh, you're into all those conspiracy.
I like to listen to conspiracy podcasts just because I like to hear other theories. You know, I don't like to be told just this is the way and this is how it is. I just like to keep an open mind. Now, I wouldn't say I'm a conspiracy theorist. I just like to hear other sides of the fence, so to speak. I'm not closed-minded to everything. So yeah, gaslighting for sure is a red flag if that's a continuous issue. Disrespect for boundaries, lack of accountability, and inconsistent or avoidant communication. So if they just shut down constantly and never want to have that conversation, if something's going on, those are red flags that you need to watch out for. So on the flip side of things, what would you think are green flags? What are some green flags?
Oh, green flags. Show me the money. Okay, not at that part yet.
Yeah.
Green flags they love introducing you to their family, or can get along with your friends. Easy to talk to. They're very open, and they can have a conversation with you, and they're like, hey, I'm an open book. I don't know. That's all I got.
I like they refer to guys girls too. They can be this as well, but green flags in a relationship is the golden retrievers. Think about the breed of dog. They love everybody and they're so happy and they're engaged. That's a green flag.
If you were a breed of dog, what would you say? Would you be a golden retriever?
I always say that I'm not a cat person, but I think I have a cat personality. I'm like, I'll come around you when I want to be around you, and also leave me alone. I'm very independent. So I don't know what breed of dog that would be. Maybe what does your sister have? A Shiba Inu? Those are kind of like the little fox dogs. They look like little foxes.
That's a crypto thing as well.
Is it really Shiba Inu?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a golden doodle. She's definitely not like that. She's got to be around you all the time.
Mm-hmm. I sit down. I'm gonna go by.
She thinks she's a lap dog, even though she's about like 40 some pounds. She's always sitting on our kids' lap. But so yeah, definition of green flags are positive behaviors or characteristics in a relationship that indicate healthy stability and long-term potential. These signs suggest that both partners are capable of building a strong, supportive, and loving relationship. So these are some signs to look for. Healthy communication, mutual respect, emotional availability, trustworthiness. You had mentioned that. Shared values and goals. So that's important. If you guys don't have the same vision for what your future is going to look like, that might be a red flag. But maybe it's not. Just have that conversation. Maybe you have different sides of opinions, but that could maybe work in the long run. Mutual support, healthy boundaries, and emotional regulation are just some examples of some green flags. So you be in those healthy relationships. That's the goal, is to find someone that just gets you and you get that person. Are there going to be struggles in relationships? Absolutely. Everyone comes through conflicts every now and then. But how you resolve them and work through those conflicts, that's important. And you want to stick to those green flags rather than the red flags. So green means money. It also means green flag in a relationship.
Okay.
So what do you got today for us for finance?
Okay. Well, I said last week it was like part one of a 2-part series. I might not even get through all this today. We'll see. Maybe it's part of a 3-part series. But stock market down. We know it hasn't been doing well. So what can we do when the stock market's down to help our overall portfolio or help our kind of financial plan or some strategies moving forward? So last time we talked about buying a dip, tax loss harvesting, rebalance your portfolios, and dollar cost averaging. So now, today we're going to talk a couple more, maybe even more than that, ideas. So one of the things that you could do is, it kind of goes along with the dollar cost averaging, is increase your contribution. So if you say, hey, stock market's down, I have some extra money, or I've been getting paid a little bit extra, I want to start contributing even more money while the stock market's down. Because once again, it's kind of like a slinky, right? Like slinky goes down the steps, it gets small, then it expands, gets small, expands. Right now we're at a contraction in regards to the stock market. Now, granted, that doesn't mean it's all the way contract. It might still go lower. We don't know what's going to happen there. But if you invest regularly, that's good for dollar cost averaging. But if you have some additional money and you want to start doing that same thing, as increase your contributions when it's down, that could be a good thing. So right now you could put money in a Roth IRA. Lindsey, do you remember what a Roth IRA is? I'm going to keep quizzing you until you get it.
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
Your Roth IRA is something that's taxed up front.
Yep.
And then when you pull the money out down the road,
then what?
It's already been taxed, so you can't get taxed again.
So what if
you're growing your money?
So I put in $5,000, it grew to be 50, and I'm like 60 years old, and now I got to pull it out, and it's been there like 15 years, we'll say, or 20, maybe longer. But then when I pull that $60,000 out, or $50,000, whatever I just said, $50,000, is it all taxable? It's all tax-free?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Good job. Yes.
I learned something.
So how much can you put into a Roth IRA every year?
Oh, I know you were going to ask me that. Did you tell me this before? I feel like you didn't tell me how much you can put in.
What do you think? How much do you think you can put in?
Let's see. 20,000?
20,000.
Is that too high?
Too high. Yep. So on a Roth,
5,000?
Too low.
10,000?
It's 7. We'll just do the.
I was going to say I could keep going if
7. So you can put $7,000 in a Roth if you're under the age of 50. If you're over the age of 50, it's called a catch-up provision. You can do an extra $1,000. Now, that is something that you could put in. Some people have like Roth 401ks or Roth TSPs through work. And if they have one of those, that would be a good thing to contribute to those as well. If you're already maxing out a Roth IRA, because that's just an additional way you can save some money tax-free. If you need a tax deduction, or you might have other tax strategies you're doing, one way that you want to have a tax deduction is you could contribute more to a 401k or more to a TSP. Now, I'm a bigger fan of having tax-free money, so I'd much rather you do Roth IRA, assuming that makes sense, or a Roth 401k. Now, on a traditional 401k, if you're like, I got extra money, I want to put it in, market's down, let's start chunking more money in. Do you know how much money, Lindsey, that you could put into just a normal, traditional 401k?
Is it higher than
It is higher.
10,000.
I'm just going to go right to the numbers.
20,000.
$23,500.
Okay, I was pretty close.
So some people have asked me, like, can I do both? Like, can I put into traditional and also a regular IRA? Yeah, the answer, or excuse me, a traditional 401k and also a traditional IRA. Yes. So Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs, the max you can do per year if you're under 50 is $7,000. If you're over 50, it's 8. So with that said, if you say, well, what if I put $3,000 in a traditional? Can I put $4,000 in a Roth? Yeah, you absolutely can. It just, in collaboration, those two combined, you can't do more than $7,000. If you're over the age of 50 on a traditional, or excuse me, a 401k, instead of 23.5 being the maximum that you can contribute, you can actually do up to 31,000. So you can do extra money in there. So really, in regards to like a Roth 401k or Roth TSP, in collaboration with Roth IRA, you can do 31,000 if you're over 50 and 8,000. So you can actually do about $39,000 saving in tax-free money if you're over 50. If you're under 50, you can do $30,500 saved per year in those. And no better time to do it than when the market's down. So that'd be a good thing to do when the market's down. So that's one thing. But also talking about Roth IRAs, if you have like an old 401k that you move to an IRA, so what happens, just so you understand, Linz, is let's just say you're working at an employer, like you worked at past employers, right? So you had an old 401k, and if we wanted to move it to an IRA, it's then in an IRA, it's just a rollover. But if that's growing tax deferred. So if you put in, let's just say $10,000, and it grew to $70,000 by the time you retired. When you withdrew that after age 60, which really after 59 and a half, how much tax would you have to pay?
So it grew to 70,000.
And 70,000, yeah.
How much tax do you have to pay?
How much tax do you have to pay? You have to pay tax on the whole 70 grand. You only have to pay tax on the 60,000 of growth. Do not have to pay any taxes at all.
I think you got to pay on the whole thing.
Look at you all learning and whatnot. Booyah.
Sometimes I take in information you teach me.
So yeah, on the whole thing that you would have to take it in. So what you could do in this time of like, hey, stock market's down, you could say, all right, well, that 10 grand that I had, it got compressed and now it's at 8 grand because the stock market lost 20%. So you could take the IRA, convert it to Roth, and if you convert it to Roth, do you know the one thing you have to do, Lindsey, to convert it from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA?
Converting it from a traditional to a Roth. No.
All that thought for a no.
I don't think we've talked about it.
No. So what you can do is you could say, all right, well, my 10,000 is now 8,000, but I want to move it from an IRA to Roth. And if you do that, you have to pay the taxes. So if you're under the age of 59 and a half, you need to do it from an outside account. If you're over the age of 59 and a half, you can do it from inside the account, which means you can have actually that $8,000 account pay the taxes. So as an example, say you're age 60, you have 8,000 in there and you want to convert it all over to a Roth. 8 grand less 25% taxes, you would really have 6 grand in a Roth moving forward, or you can elect to have that 25% in taxes paid from like a checking or savings, and then you'd have the whole 8,000. But a lot of times you do that at younger ages. So if you said, all right, well, that 10 grand is now 8, I converted it to Roth, that 8 grand grows to be, the quiz question again, this 8 grand after you converted it to Roth now grows to be 50,000, we'll say, by the time that you retire. And it's in a Roth IRA, and you're after the age 59 and a half in a Roth IRA, how much taxes would you pay in a Roth IRA after 59 and a half? None. There you go. So what in scenario 1, like if you left it in the IRA and it grew to be, let's just say the same 60 grand, you'd have to pay taxes on the whole 60,000 at whatever rate you were at that point in time. Right. Whereas now you'd say, all right, well, it's compressed. I only want to pay taxes on the 8 grand. So you're only paying taxes probably 2 grand roughly. Depending on your tax bracket. And then it grows and it, kind of like, once again, it's like a slinky. It goes way down and then compresses, or a spring goes way down and comes back up. And then when it goes back up, you start, okay, well, the market was lower. Now it's shot back up. All that tax-free, it's all tax-free growth moving forward. So a lot of times doing Roth IRAs or a Roth IRA conversions make a lot of sense when the stock market is down. Or the stock market's compressed. So then when you convert it over, it then goes back up off of that lower number. So you're paying taxes on a lower amount.
That sounds like a good idea. So all this talk about the stock market, I know the stock market's crashed in the past, since we've been alive, but I just think back to the Great Depression. And what went wrong in their case where it's it full on crashed and then they were in the Great Depression? Do you ever foresee that ever happening again?
So the thing is, nothing goes up in a straight line. And, sometimes clients are like, well, Brett, the market's going down. What should I do? I'm like, well, that's why we set you up from the get-go, having a portion of your portfolio risky in the market and a portion of the portfolio safer. So when the market's down and the market's compressed, if you need money, you want to pull from that safer side because you don't want to say, hey, well, we lost a bunch of money. We want to pull out now. We want to lock in losses. So you never want to lock in losses then pull out money when the market's down.
So is that what happened? People were pulling out when they shouldn't have?
People get nervous.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that's what happened in 1929. I'm just saying collectively when the market's down, people are fearful. And they and they're very scared. Like, I can't lose anymore.
That's what happened to It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
They were pulling their money out of his bank.
Yeah, that's very true in that movie. Yeah. So, Warren Buffett says, have the contrarian approach. So when everybody is just elated and the market's really high, that's the point in time you're like, I should probably get out. Why? Because the market's so high up there. And then when everybody's super fearful, that's the time to get in. That's the time to invest. So when we talk about buy the dip, and everybody's like, oh, do I really want to buy the dip? The market could keep going down lower. Yeah, but it just lost 10, 15, 20%. So, we might as well buy it at the compressed version. So then when it, springs back up, then you get 10, 15%, immediately when that goes back and just reaches the level it was just a handful of months prior to that. Now, granted, it might not be a handful of months. It might take years.
Yeah. So what if you're in one of the stocks that you had mentioned last week that are doing really poorly right now? Should you stay in with those, or should you pull it out while you got your loss and move it to something else?
Well, that's the thing, is you should constantly be rebalancing along the way. So every single year, at least what we do for our clients, we want to get down or sit down with them and say, hey, should you keep these allocations? Because you should constantly be reallocating as you go. Because if the stock market's way elated and way going up, that's a great time to take some profits off. So over the last couple of years, as the market was going up, you say, hey, your portfolio might have started off, let's say 2+ years at, if you had 100 grand, 50,000 in safe stuff, 50,000 in risky stuff. But as the market went way up, you'd say, well, now I have 80%, or let's just say 80 grand in risky and 55 grand in safer. Well, the ratios aren't the same. So you should take some of that stock market upside or stock market gain that you've had and then reallocate it back to the safer side. So if you wanted it to be 50-50 overall, then you're locking in some of those gains. Now, granted, when the stock market goes down, then you have some of that safe side that you could either use to live off of at that time, or you could invest right back in the market. So
awesome. Is that all the tips you have?
Oh, that's what I think
market?
That's good enough for today.
Oh,
to try
you're going
to
to
get
leave
people,
it on a teaser.
Oh, I'm going to leave you on a teaser. We got a couple more strategies that we'll go into next time, but
So you said that this could take years. So people that are getting really nervous right now, what's the longest stretch that the stock market has been down?
So I always give an example that, a lot of people think over the last 20 some years, the market has been just so great. And that's actually not the case. So I have a chart that I go off of. I need an updated chart, but the chart that I have in memory, the numbers off of my head, is from 1998 to 2022.
Okay.
The stock market actually averaged, if you had to guess, what do you think the market averaged during that time frame?
I hate you with these numbers. You're putting me on the spot. Averaged? I don't know. What I don't even know what a good number to shoot at you is. I'm either way too high or too low.
So a lot of times people they think, hey, if I can get 8 to 10% long term, I'm happy.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Uh-huh.
So here the last 10 years, market's actually been above that. It's done a little over 12 over the last 10 years.
Okay.
So I met with somebody earlier on in the week, and they asked me, it was actually yesterday, and they asked me, they're like, so what do you think, like, moving forward? Like what can you guarantee that, in essence, if we went with your recommendations, that you could get moving forward? And I'm like, honestly, I can't guarantee anything. Like, we don't know what the stock market's going to do. Are we going to have a time frame that is like the last 10, 12 years and the market's been really, really good? Mm-hmm. Or are we going to have a time frame that prior to that, it's negative? So also on the chart that I go off is from 1999 through 2009, the stock market actually lost roughly about 2.7% per year on average during that 10-year time frame. It's known as the lost decade. So you literally lost money during that time frame. So for any financial advisor out there to say, oh, we're going to get 8 on average or 9 or 10, like, I call BS on that. Like, because you don't know what time frame you're going to get in. What we can say is like, hey, as we look at your portfolio, if we can get 2 to 3% more than what it's done historically based on some of the ones we get in, that could be something we do. Now, granted, it might not perform that well. It might perform even better than that, but you just never know what the market's going to do moving forward, but you should have some money on the safe side and you should have some money on the risky side.
This just made me think of this real quick before we end today. But, do you remember the Radio Shack controversy?
Oh, what do you mean? I know Radio Shack. What do you mean Radio Shack?
No, when all those guys bought into the stock of Radio Shack and like went through the roof because they like bought into this, like Radio Shack was like a dying stock. Like, are there even any Radio Shacks anymore? And they like drove it all up, and then they were able to get their money out, and like they made bank doing this. Like,
that seems highly illegal.
I know. I was like, how can you do that? And how do you have enough influence to influence the stock market?
Was it GameStop here recently?
Or maybe it was GameStop.
Yeah, I was
maybe
like,
it was GameStop,
I don't remember Radio Shack,
I'm
but
getting my
GameStop.
companies. But same thing. GameStop isn't like a big stock anymore. That's not really.
A bunch of people on Reddit or something else.
Yeah,
of
Reddit.
That nature.
That's what it was.
They we're decided that we're going to put all this money in this, drive up the stock price, and
But how many people would it take to actually make a movement in the stock? Like,
It's not about the people. It's about the money.
the money. Okay.
Yep. It's
But
all
that's
about
illegal
the
what
money.
they
Yeah.
did. So how did they not get in trouble for it?
Well, I mean, if it's not just one person doing it, if
Yeah.
it's multiple people, like, hey, I want to invest in this. I want to invest in this. I mean, as long as it's not an illegal, something illegal that they're doing
GameStop
about
like
it.
crash after because everybody they took
It
their
went way
money
up and
out?
it came way back down. I still think it's quite a bit higher than what it was
than it
prior
was,
to that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm just
Does it make
thinking,
sense
like,
why?
if there's
No,
any
not
stocks
really,
we
but-
want to like drive.
No,
Eggs
no.
right now are a very big stock. Eggs are in.
I don't think there's any egg
Can
stock
you buy
out there.
stock in eggs?
You
Chicken
would think it would be a
farms?
very bad time to buy
Tyson?
it because
It's
the
good.
prices are so high.
They are so high. So if you own chickens, you're making bank right now. That's like liquid gold.
I don't think I'm going to be investing in the local chicken coop anytime soon.
This is why I said we need to get some
Oh my
chickens.
gosh.
But if you have questions regarding the stock market, maybe you have questions about what were some of the other topics we talked about recently, the tariffs.
What do you do when the stock market's down? Now, I went through some things, but we have a few more to cover.
Yeah, we got more
Still,
to cover.
So last week we talked about what do you do when the stock market's down. Talk today about another couple ideas or strategy, and we'll hit a couple more up next time.
Yeah. So if you have those burning questions, where can they ask those questions, Brett?
You can go to financially 4 everafter.com. You can there's just a little tab in there that it's a circling question mark. You click on there, you can leave a comment, ask a question in there. And you can also, if you have a burning question for myself, you can apply for a 10-15 minute conversation with myself, and I might be able to answer your
With
financial
the money guru.
question. No, the money maker.
Oh, money maker.
Remember,
guru.
you wanted to be the love.
The money maker sage.
So stop it. You and your
You can
sage.
also ask those questions on our social
gosh.
media accounts, Instagram, Facebook. We also have a TikTok page and YouTube. So feel free to shoot out those questions. We're here to help you out as much as we can. So thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Financially Forever After, a love and money podcast. Have a great one.